Life isn't perfect, and neither are we.
No, but we know how to face our fears
And have some fun.
and talk about all the messiest things of life.
Like the messiest things.
Get connected to yourself, get connected to others, and get connected to the life right in front of you.
This is The Connected Life with Justin and Abby.
That's me.
That's you.
And you.
Hey, Connected Life peeps, Justin here. And I am so excited about today's episode. But before we get started, I just want to share from you a short testimonial clip. Recently, Abby and Pete sat down to have a conversation with people who had gone through the most recent pathway to freedom. And there were so many incredible testimonies, but there's this testimony that stood out. And Abby had shared with me, she was like, Justin, you got to listen to this guy's testimony. Like, it's so moving. And I sat down to listen to it, and I was just like being brought to tears as I was hearing what he had to say. And I was like, this has to be shared with our Connected Life listeners, because the reality is that no matter where you're at in your journey of life, there is hope. No matter how broken your childhood was, no matter how many losses, tragedies, or devastations you've experienced, there is a hope. There is a promise of goodness over your life. There is a roadmap out from no matter how heavy it is, no matter how difficult it is, no matter how impossible it feels. There is a roadmap out there. There are ways to get out of where you're at and into the goodness of life. And so I'm just going to take a second, just a couple minutes here. We just want to share this with you. And remember that Living Fully Alive is happening now. Signups for that, and it launches January 11th. So if you haven't gone to Justin and Abby, that's abi.com. If you haven't gone there yet, go there now. When this episode finishes, and get signed up. Come participate with us and groups. Like, there's thousands of people who have gone through Living Fully Alive. Come participate in our community. It's a community of hope and joy and redemption and repair and restoration. All right, without further ado, here's that testimony.
I never have met you. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. I don't know. I'm on the edge of between wanting to kind of run or kind of share my heart, I guess.
That's pretty
So I
common.
was-
I think everybody wants to run when we call on them.
100%. They're like, no. But I do want to share, but no.
Yeah. So I was going to type it out. I started typing because I'm not very good at typing. I thought I kind of want to say that I'm really thankful for this class. I'm thankful for you guys, and this environment is like, I've never seen a safe environment like in my life, and so thank you for creating that space. Yeah, you guys in your podcast, I spent my whole life shoving down my heart and not feeling things or being vulnerable and presenting myself as a very strong person. And it's cost me joy, and it's been hard in my marriage because of addictions and other struggles. And so I guess I just want to say thank you for helping me to see that there's life outside, like in vulnerability, I guess, because I've been so scared to go there. You guys led an exercise where you said, imagine you're at home and there's all the chaos going on around you. And then you said, imagine Pizzi comes in and she kneels down beside you and she's grounded and she's safe. And that started an inner child healing journey for me. And that was the bravest thing anyone's ever done for me, I think. And so I just want to say thank you. And Yeah. Thanks for calling on me too. I was too scared to say anything.
Oh my word. I just love you.
I'm like tearing up. Who else is like loving John over here? Like, you had me tearing up the whole time. Oh my
Oh, yes. You are. I just feel like there's no way for my heart to like stay in my chest listening to you, because you can tell, I think you can sense like your words are so connected to your heart. And there's such a feeling of like, I just have so much love rise up in me because I know what it's like to not know what safety feels like. And I know all the things you have to do to survive when you don't feel safe and you don't feel nurtured and you don't feel like there's love for you. And man, it's painful to live having to survive for so long. And it feels so beautiful because I can feel that you're opening up to love. Like I can feel that, like you feel like your heart is ready for love. And that to me is probably like one of the most sacred moments in people's lives is when they are like, I'm ready to let love in.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel so excited for you. I feel excited for the journey that your life is going to take you on now, moving forward towards love. Like you're pursuing love and love has always been pursuing you, but now you're going to feel it and it's going to get in. And I feel excited for your wife. And I feel excited for your family on the other side of this journey. And I think that the dream that you set out for in your heart, like you're going to see that dream come to fruition of your marriage and your life and what it was always meant to look like.
Wait. Just kidding.
Dang it, Jason. This is my podcast. You know dang well it's my podcast.
That was great. Actually, much better than whatever our start was going to be. You guys, I'm so excited. We have some of our friends here.
Yeah. Long time friends.
Yes. People that we love and admire.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to get to know more about Jason's penis today.
Oh my God.
Well, I mean, the practical workings.
Mostly the package, bro.
No, it's real. It's real. We're talking about babies today and stuff and life and marriage and making kids. And it's going to be a real fun.
What an intro.
You're welcome, guys.
We have our good friends, Jason and Lauren here. We've known them for 11 years, 12 years,
13.
Probably closer to 13 because
Yeah.
we're going on 12 years of marriage. And I
Oh, yeah.
distinctly remember our little pre-marriage season with you guys.
We did. I remember
Yeah.
the first time we met you. We were checking you out to see if we thought you were good enough for Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really
Everybody
did.
was doing that.
Yeah.
Everybody was protective.
It really was. A
We
lot
all
of people were
loved
like,
him.
who is this Lauren?
She looks a little weird.
Sketchy.
We all loved you. I think you were an instant hit with everyone. I can't imagine you ever
Definitely
talking
not
to
with
someone.
everyone.
Really?
No.
No.
What?
Whoa.
But
The untold story
I'm
of Jason's
shocked.
mom's emotions
yeah,
about
with
Lauren.
anybody that matters.
She's one of the most likable humans I've ever met.
Let's just say it wasn't about me.
Oh.
There's some very unlikable people on this earth. So
Oh my gosh.
You're all lovable, but not likable.
But why were they protective? That teases us off.
Oh, yeah. That's
Ooh,
a great segue.
why
Look
were
at
they
you, girl.
protective? That's
Yeah.
great.
No, it is. I had been married before. So having gone through a divorce and I think anytime you go through something really big in your life, your community gathers around and goes, how do we help you never go through that again? And so having gone through a divorce, I mean, so much of my community had really had to dive in to help me through that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I did 3 years of being a single dad. And so kind of like to bring it back maybe a little bit before this, my marriage, I realized like in 2007 that something was wrong in my marriage. And I say it that vaguely because that's how it felt. Like I literally felt like my marriage isn't working. I don't know how to fix it. I'm trying to fix it. we're getting further and further apart.
Mm.
And I can't connect us no matter how hard I try.
Yeah.
And then in 2007, April 2007, literally like my marriage ended. And so I found myself what felt like almost overnight. Like I'm a single dad raising 3 small kids.
Yeah.
And my life is on fire. I mean, it just felt like I just don't know what to do. I'm a pastor at the school of ministry. I counsel people. I mean, this doesn't help. This doesn't help your life, right?
Right.
It's not
Totally.
a big bite of humble pie. Oh my God, what's happening?
Yeah. This is really going to help my story. And I mean, it just felt so scary and so confusing and really challenging. And so all my friend group had literally gathered and rallied around me to help me, parent and help these kids and help myself and learn how to do laundry. Like if we're being really honest, like I hadn't even done a load of laundry.
Totally.
Because I grew
You
up.
got married young too.
I got married super young, and in my home, the guys did the outside work,
Mm-hmm.
super traditional home.
Yeah.
And the girls did the inside work.
Mhm.
And so, and then I got married at 18 years old, engaged in high school, married at 18, had my first child by the time I was 19, my third child by the time I was 24, and a vasectomy.
Jason's package.
Yeah. I mean, if we want to get really vulnerable.
Back to that.
And so it was just a massive, massive learning curve and pain point in my life. And so, yeah, that's the season that I met you guys in.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very interesting, like watching you navigate that. One of the things I just wanted to add, very powerful, which I've shared with a lot of people, is you said to me, like, as you were walking that out, I mean, there was the waves of grief where there was just feeling like you couldn't get out of bed, and then choosing to actually put it on the shelf and choose to live. And it was one of the most powerful pieces of information that I've imparted to other people, that there are days to grieve and then days to actually choose back into life and go, oh no, today I'm not even going to consider the fact that I just went through this devastation. I'm going to treat it like a normal day, and I'm going to have fun and play, and then return to my grief on another day.
Yeah. I mean, processing pain, learning how to process pain and work through forgiveness has become like one of my strongest life messages, because it's just, I mean, that's your life, right? So you really only have 2 choices when you're in those type of scenarios. And by the way, everyone's going to be in some type of scenario like that at some point.
Completely.
Not a divorce, but at a place where you realize my life sucks.
It's on fire.
And some of it may be your own doing, which honestly is probably the best thing if it is your own doing, because you only have you to blame and you can solve it, right? As opposed to like, all of our parents are going to die probably while we're alive. We're going to go through pain. All of us are going to have hard times with our kids or our friends, or that's just life. And so I think I was really faced with, I remember sitting on my bed and thinking, there's no good way. Like, I'm screwed if I just try to get rid of this pain really fast and go have fun and do a bunch of dumb stuff. Or like, if I have to sit here and literally work through all this, like, there's no fun option here. This really sucks.
Yes.
And so I just started the journey of working through pain, and that's probably another whole podcast, whatever. But yeah, so eventually after a year of like processing pain, my divorce finalizing, I had some really good men in my life, like Danny Silk, who said, hey, I don't want you to do anything for 6 months. I don't want you to file paperwork. I don't want you to, to do anything. So I didn't. I felt like, after about 6 months of processing pain and just like sitting in the middle of this mess, eventually you just feel like this dog in a park where everyone's having fun and you're chained up to a tree. Literally
to describe it.
Yeah. And finally, instead of like looking at everyone else, I just stop and I turn around, I sit down and I look at the tree. Me and you,
So sad.
me and you were friends. This is what we're going to do.
That's funny.
And that's the best option, right? It's like, you don't need to look at what everyone else is doing in their life. And it's all the Instagram stuff, right? It's
Right.
like, oh, look at how much fun they're having. And I was learning some really important lessons. So eventually I got to the place where, man, I'm healed, at least as healed as much as I know to be
Sure.
healed, right? And I'm ready to date. I'm ready to go. And that was incredibly exciting
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
and terrifying all at the same time.
Especially after staring at a tree for so long.
Yeah, it's true. And maybe if I could be so open as to say, being a pastor in a place like Bethel,
Yeah.
where hundreds and hundreds of single women come every year. No, this is real. This is like the inside. It was like being on The Bachelor,
Oh, 100%.
like Christian
Totally.
Bachelor,
Yes,
where you're not sleeping
absolutely.
with everyone.
Right.
And it was an insane time.
Overwhelming.
Like people's moms were sending him Facebook
Oh,
messages. of
totally.
their children.
Yeah, for real.
Marry
I have
mine,
two
marry
It got
mine.
daughters.
weird. It got weird.
Yeah, I've got 2 daughters. This is the one that I recommend. Tell me which one you like.
Oh my
That's
gosh,
real. That's a real
funny.
story.
That's
And-
amazing.
And a lot of, just a lot of my mom, I think my mom got the biggest kick out of it because people would like, girls are crazy. Can we just say
Yeah.
that?
Yes, we can.
be.
We can't be.
Can be.
And we won't go
Like a
With
distinction.
respect.
Yeah.
we won't go super far down this journey because I'm still a pastor and I don't want my license revoked. But girls are crazy and they'd write letters and just do all this stuff that like unsolicited,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
like unsolicited.
absolutely.
I'm not
Uh-huh.
like,
yeah.
I'm not doing like I'm cooking them dinner and not telling them. No, like I wasn't even messing around in that world with leading people on. But they just write you these crazy letters and
Drop it into your DMs.
yeah. And I wouldn't even open them. I would just go give them to my mom. And my mom would read it and just die.
That's cute.
funny.
Yeah. So
So-
then enter Lauren.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's the prize.
I was one of the ones that I was not writing him DMs. Let's
No.
just say that.
In my mind, you were though.
Lauren, did you have any interest in Jay from a distance or anything? Or
Oh,
was it
no.
like,
Justin, every woman did.
Definitely not. No, I distinctly remember sitting in church when Jason was on stage one day giving announcements, and he was talking about his kids
Mm.
with like a lot of affection, but I couldn't help but notice he didn't have a ring on his finger. I didn't know anything about his story. So I asked my friend next to him, like, this is Chris's son? Like, what is his deal? Like, he's talking about kids. Is he married? This is weird. And she goes, no, you don't know. Anyways, it was only a year or so after I think his divorce. And she told me the like Cliff Notes version of his story. And I said to her almost verbatim, it was something along the lines of, wow, he seems like a really great guy. That is a
Aw.
tragic story. I hope he is so happy someday.
Oh, I'm fixing to be.
I was like, oof, that
What
is
a
a lot.
prophetic.
Somebody's going to marry him, and I hope he's so happy one day. But wow, that sounds like a lot.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys start dating. I'm going to fast forward a little bit.
Yeah.
And let's talk about the journey of dating somebody who has kids
Oh, yeah.
and what that is like.
yeah, what was going on in your head over that situation? Like,
Well, there was a big no over it. For
Yeah,
me,
come on.
It's like I didn't know what to do because on one hand, people that I really respected and trusted really respected and trusted him.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
knew that there was a green light there, but it was a journey for me to actually consider that could be my storyline.
Yeah.
She's a Catholic. She comes from a Catholic family in Charleston, South Carolina. Like this is not the dream.
Yeah, no. Like I had this definitely a like white picket fence dream about what my
Yeah.
life was going to look like. And, I like grew up a really good girl. I went to college. I got a degree. This little jaunt over to California for me to to attend this school of ministry at this random church was a very out of the box move for me. And I was definitely going back to the box. Like it was not like, oh, now Lauren's this new like hippie creature out in California doing all of these like rogue things with her life. That was not the plan. So when we went out on a date, I mean, I remember thinking to myself, like, this is probably one of the most upstanding men I've ever met and known. So to say no to a date to him sounds like a dumb idea. But if you say yes to a lot of dates in a row, then you have to start asking yourself more questions like, where's this going, you know? And I'm just such a planner by nature, very cautious in general. So I'm definitely thinking down the line, like, oh, this has major implications. So
yeah, I'm a long-term thinker too. And I'd be like,
what? You know,
I'm buying, like, this date is me buying into a whole package.
Oh yeah. And I had to keep myself from going too far down that line.
Yeah.
Luckily he was onto it and was
I had a
very
strategy.
good. He was
What, you're giving your kids up for adoption?
He was
Is that like,
yeah.
My strategy is really define super clear what my intentions are, and don't allow this relationship to answer questions too far in the future that we can't possibly answer.
right?
Yeah.
There's not grace for.
So
He was-
I
You're
was
not
like,
there.
hey, on the first date, like on the first, hey, I'd love to go get whatever coffee, go for a walk with you. Like, how can you turn that down? It's just so simple. And so she was
It
like,
was low
yeah,
stakes.
yeah, I'll go for a walk with you.
Yeah.
So she got coffee and I got hot water because I don't drink tea or coffee at that time.
Uh-huh.
And so we went for a walk. And then there I just said, hey, I would love to continue to pursue you. And she was like, I don't know.
What does that mean?
And
I've
that was the
asked
time
that.
when I
What does that
realized,
mean?
like, oh, wait, I might not even.
Wait, this is the one girl who doesn't have a letter for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, no, yes, you're going to go on more dates with me. No, I'm just
I
kidding. So I realized, like, okay, yeah. So I just said, hey, all I'd love to do is to be intentional about pursuing you and find out if this is something that we enjoy doing together.
But to skip a little bit ahead, within the first couple of months, I was having to like really address the bigger questions because there was a lot at stake, especially for his kids. And so I just remember feeling like, okay, this is a complete rewrite of the story that I had in my mind. But what I felt challenged to do was to figure out in my heart if a life with him and the kids felt like a bigger life, or did it feel like I was signing myself up to have a bunch of restrictions on me? Because I felt
a
like
great
what
question.
I needed to
Yeah.
know was I needed my decision to open the possibility of life wider and bigger for me. I needed to not feel like I was stepping into a more narrow vision and limited vision for my life.
Oh,
and so
completely.
I remember feeling this, okay, in my mind on paper, it looks like I'm really limiting myself with this choice. I'm committing to Redding, California, of all places. I am committing to an already made family. I'm committing to a man who's committed to being a pastor, which was never my dream. So there was a lot of things on paper.
Oh, it's dreamy, babe.
And there was a lot of things on paper that looked like, oh my word. But in my gut, like in my heart, and I would say as somebody that tends to be more of a thinker, processor, like calculator, I was learning in that season to pay attention to what was happening in my gut and in my heart. And I remember just having to wrestle with this juxtaposition of like, wow, on paper, it looks crazy, but somehow in my heart, I feel like my life is only going to expand and the horizons are only going to become bigger and broader for me if I say yes to this. And then of course, I mean, then you just, you get to the point where saying yes feels like the absolute no-brainer. But I will say we had to have a conversation because one of the things I knew that was in my heart that I wasn't willing to set aside was my desire to have kids of my own. And so we got into a conversation about that. And he would say, you can speak for yourself, but he didn't necessarily want to have more kids. That wasn't his dream.
No, I had 3.
Yeah, he had
Yeah,
at a
I've
young
done
age.
it.
At the time, our youngest was only 5. He was only 5, 4.5 or 5. So, he's in the thick of it as a dad and had been for 12 years at that point. And then but so I just knew I wasn't willing to set aside my dream for having kids. So we had this conversation, and, you know, he had his own conversations with his dad about the subject, and he had already been processing it because his dad said to him, and I think this is actually really profound. So I don't mean to like sidestep what we were talking about, but side note really fast. His dad coached him in a way that I felt like was so brilliant. He said, because Jason was only 28 years old at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He said, son, you don't want to have more kids, but if you're going to marry, chances are, if you want to marry a young, healthy woman who's never been married before and doesn't have her own children, she's probably going to want more kids.
Right.
So if you decide I'm not marrying somebody that wants more kids, you're really limiting yourself on who you can actually even date, because if you're going to marry a young, healthy woman, she's going to want kids. That's how it goes.
Right.
So anyways, that was the case.
That's good
Wasn't that
advice.
good?
And especially a woman who wants to be a mom.
Right.
Like, what woman who wants to be a mom doesn't want her own kids?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Not very
Tough.
many, you know, like that
Pretty
would be,
tough.
there are people out there for
Sure.
sure, but that's a niche. And I think,
Which, by the way, can I add,
Yeah.
you didn't I appreciate about you is that you didn't live in denial about this conversation.
Yeah.
You actually were honest with yourself. A lot of
Yeah.
people go into denial, hide themselves from it and go, no, it'll work out. It's fine. I'm not going to actually think through it. And then they get into it and disaster starts striking because you're not
They
willing to
hadn't
have
talked it through.
honest conversation with yourself or the
Yeah.
honest conversation with the partner.
yeah, I think you can have fear of losing this person that you
Yes.
love.
If you get honest.
And so you're willing to like die to yourself in a way that actually is not the best.
You end up
Not-
resenting them.
Yeah.
You end up.
Yeah. So we had this conversation, Jason, like he had mentioned early on in this podcast episode, that he had a vasectomy. So we knew that it wasn't necessarily a guarantee. And where I landed in my heart was, I just need to know you're willing to try. I know that there's no guarantee.
Wow.
There's no guarantee in life for anybody.
Yeah,
I could
come
have married somebody that had never been married before, that didn't have any children. We could have had this perfectly white picket fence dream for our life, and we could have ended up being infertile or
Yep.
whoever else knows.
Yep.
And so I think
Wow.
we just got to the place where I needed to know he was willing to go on that journey
What
with
a
me,
beautiful heart
that he
posture.
was willing to partner with my dream in birthing my own children, knowing there was no guarantee.
You know
Well-
what helped us a lot is we decided to not kiss before we were really far down the road and could say like, I love you. Like I want to spend my life
choose
with you.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I choose
Because you
you.
weren't expediting intimacy, a false sense of intimacy. So you actually got to have a clear head on the journey of like, what am I really choosing into? Because it's not
Yeah.
just
There's already enough emotional like charge that's happening
Yes.
in a relationship already. And then we have these, like, I have to get to know her and she has to get to know me to know, like, am I fun enough that that this is even an option, right? So
Right.
even before she spent a lot of time with the kids, we first had to know, do we like each other?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is it worth it to introduce you to the kids? And then once we kind of crossed that hurdle, then it was like, okay, now we need to start doing some kid stuff. And because kids can change the dynamic. You may really like me, but
Absolutely.
not really like how your interaction with the kids.
Totally.
So we jumped through that hurdle.
And that's a good, honest conversation, right?
It really
like
is.
we can ignore that and be like, oh no, I love your kid. No, what
Mm-mm.
I come with my kids. I love my kids. But you may not be able to take these interactions with
Yeah.
them. And
True.
that's an okay thing. That's not bad. Like I
Yeah.
think a lot of people would feel shame
Yep.
about even having to be honest about negotiating that journey.
Totally.
Mhm.
But it's actually real.
Oh yeah, you have
It's
to.
so real. And then from there, it's like, man, in order to do our relationship well, we have to protect the kids in the middle of
Yeah.
all of this stuff. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of really adult decisions and an adult pace that you have to keep a relationship at, or you're going to get to what you think is the goal, right?
Mhm.
Like we're married
Right.
and we're blended this family, but you have no trust because you just zipped right
totally.
through the process.
So good.
So I think for someone like Lauren, who really wants to know every detail and think through everything and have a real process, we had built so much trust through this that by the time we got to, I think we're gonna marry one. Like I really think this is gonna happen. We had delayed gratification. We had
Yeah.
Mhm.
walk through all these hurdles. We had really hard conversations. We had nights where she was like, I don't know that I want this. And I'm like, don't. if you don't know that you want
don't
this,
want it, don't
that
do
I'm
it.
sure that I don't want to go forward. And so we had
Totally.
those conversations without like
A bunch
these
of pressure.
Yeah, because we're like so physical that all I think about is getting down your shirt or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's one of the biggest reasons why we even got to a place where we're going, I think I want to marry you, is we withheld so much of the physical intimacy. And we had enough that we knew like, yeah, you really want to make out with me for sure.
Right. I want to add something too, because as a guy who went through the pain process that you were in, you easily could have been driven by a sexual drive for false intimacy and been like, oh, I just want to take from this. I'm not actually considering my kids. I'm not considering her life, her wants, her needs. And your decision for self-management, self-control, and even not just, it wasn't just, hey, I just want to manage myself well. It was also, I actually care about my own heart and I care about the hearts of other people inside of it. And that was a key part of this whole process, is you leading well inside of that and considering the realities of what she might go through, instead of, because I've seen a lot of men who just go, I just came out of something that was painful. I need to medicate this really fast. This person seems awesome. I'm going to blow past all these doors, these boundaries, not just physical, but like emotional boundaries, just to try and take something from her to make myself feel like a better man or better off in my world.
Well, I don't think it's as conscious as I'm trying to take something from her, but I think it's
no, I don't think it's conscious
the not
either.
being aware of.
Yes.
I agree. There's a
the
complete
pain
lack
driving
of
you.
self-awareness that's driving it.
Yeah.
I'd had a conversation with the kids, especially with Lige, because he was the oldest. And I said, hey, what does kissing mean to you? This was early on in Lauren and my relationship. And he said, kissing means that you love somebody.
And
And
that's how you
right away I went, okay, like
That's how we define it.
I'm
then.
not going to change his definition of it.
right.
I'm going to go, okay, that's our standard now. So
Yeah.
I went back to Lauren and said,
To
hey,
respect Elijah.
oh yeah,
Mhm.
and the kids.
So
Yeah.
that Jason knew they understood what was happening.
Right.
He went, what does it mean for you? I'm going to play by your code book, because
Wow.
that way you understand what's happening and you're not guessing.
That's a lot of,
Isn't that genius?
that's genius. And that's a lot of care for kids, like
Oh, yeah.
actually
A ton.
taking them into account, because again, oftentimes in those situations, it happens where we don't,
Oh yeah.
not consciously, but all of a sudden you're running past kids, and then kids aren't adjusting well. They're not receiving a new mom
Right.
or a new
Yeah.
dad inside the
Right.
house well, because they're just like, I don't know what's happening. I'm not being communicated
That's
to.
right.
Mixed messages are coming through.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
whole foundation for a healthy family, especially in this scenario, starts long before you're ever a family.
Right.
And so they didn't have resentment towards Lauren.
Yeah.
They didn't feel like we were pushing them faster.
Totally.
And for us, it really helped us to get to this place where we could really answer the hard questions and know, like, we didn't get here on accident.
Yeah.
We got here super intentionally. So if
Yeah.
you don't want it, that's awesome. But it was so much easier to move forward.
One of the things I love about your guys' story, I was sitting here thinking this as you've been talking from the get-go, is both of you learned at a young age that life doesn't happen the way you think it's going to happen.
Oh yeah.
And I wish everyone could, even though that's a very painful lesson, most of us are holding on to the image of what we thought it should be, or
Yeah.
we're constantly grieving because it's not what we thought it would be. And this is a huge pain pocket I see most people hit that can radically change their life path when they're like, my life doesn't look like I thought it would.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's so inspiring that you guys could acknowledge, both of you acknowledged it turned out much different than you thought it would. And then you were able to accept that and then find your way through it instead of letting it derail your whole life. I was thinking about, as you guys are sharing your story, all of the parents out there that are like, man, I wish I would have dated my step parent spouse like that, or I wish I would have had those conversations. And the beautiful thing about, this story that we're going to keep talking about is, regardless of where you're at or how you got where you're at, there's always ways to move forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Repentance restores the standard.
Yeah.
And, I think that all of our lives, we have to repent for the mistakes we made,
Oh yeah.
which is it's a literal like culture change inside of yourself to
Yeah.
repent. And we can talk a ton about that, but it's true. Like Lauren and I have had lots of times, even in our marriage, with raising kids and doing this whole process that you're like, man, I wish I would have done that in the very beginning. So,
Me and Justin too. We look back and we're
Oh
like,
my
we
God.
thought we did so many things right, and we're like, yeah,
You did your best.
we did our best.
That's the thing.
and that's what, to me, that's the most important thing, is that with the tools that you have, that you make the best decisions that you
Mhm.
can.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do.
And people have to consider that there's not really good models for a lot of the things that
Yeah.
life
Oh,
brings. So
no.
it's not like, yeah, I had someone model divorce well for me, and
Oh my gosh,
here's the
right?
book on how to do it. It's like, my life blew up. I don't know what this
And there's
is.
this really
Totally.
great stepmom out there that really nailed it, and I'm going to learn from her.
It's why we do what we do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Is so that
To
we
help give
can
a
model
model.
Right.
Yeah.
these crazy storms that
Mhm.
suck.
Very
Mhm.
true.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys decide to get married. You say you have to be willing to try to have kids. Let's talk about what happens in the kid journey from there.
Well, we decided, so when we got married, the kids were 12, 9, and 6.
Mm.
And we, in our dream, like we had said, Jason had a vasectomy. We knew there was going to be a process there. We decided to wait 2 years into marriage before we even talked about embarking on that journey.
Mm.
But in our ideal dream world, we would add to the family while all the big kids were still at home, because we wanted to raise them together. We wanted to, we're going to blend this family. We're really going to blend it. Let's
We're
blend
gonna
it all
blend it up, baby.
Blend it all up, Well, there's a lot of other factors at play. Jason was in the process of coming out of a nervous breakdown.
That's a whole nother
That's a whole.
podcast,
Let's
too.
not even dig into that.
Guys, we
'cause it's
got 10
listen,
podcasts
no,
we're gonna
we're not
record
with you.
today.
That's another topic. But there's a lot of factors at play. And it turns out that blending a family is not so easy. And there was plenty of things for us to have to figure out how to do. We were co-parenting with the kid's mother. We were, they're school-age kids, busy. It was just a lot.
It was a
lot. So 2 years blew by like it was nothing. We got to the point where we were like, okay, let's get that vasectomy reversal taken care of. That way we can just be ready when we're ready, kind of a thing.
Bro,
So,
do you know when
oh gosh, here we go.
when somebody says something like, hey, are you willing to do this? And you say like, yeah, I'll do that for you. And then the day comes, the actual day comes
And you're like,
that
"Ugh."
you have to step up.
Let's just say it was good. He was already on anti-anxiety medication.
I mean, I have never been more terrified in my life
Oh.
than when I was sitting in that office getting ready to go in for my surgery.
Oh, yeah.
The getting a vasectomy is not that big of a deal unless you're Justin,
Oh my gosh.
which I was there for. But getting a reversal, it's like taking the pencil lead, like the number 2 pencil lead, and putting 300 stitches around that to stitch it back together. Right. And you can imagine what happens.
just
That it's so
swells.
invasive.
Oh.
It's just a small little tiny flick for for women out there. Just a small little flick to that region could generate so much pain.
Oh,
So you can
man.
imagine what happens when they're cutting and sewing and
Oh.
stitching, and you're their little pet project for that week.
Oh my gosh.
And so, yeah, it's what it felt like. Well, the recovery, I was like a month in bed.
It was a lot.
Oh,
It
It
was
was a lot.
crazy.
That's awful.
I don't think it was actually a month. I think that
It felt like a month.
it felt like a month.
Oh, I was a month without being able to do much.
He wasn't well. We'll
Yeah.
say that. It was
it
not,
affected him in a
So
Yeah.
profound
the
way.
tragedy of all of this,
I'm like, that does sound terrifying.
It was
Horrible.
terrifying.
it
Horrible.
wasn't fun. That is for sure. It was. We did it in December, so I specifically remember I had to call it a friend of Jay's to come over and help me put up the Christmas tree because Jay was still upstairs in bed. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
well, for the joy set before us. Unfortunately, though, here comes a little dip in the journey. You got to wait like 6-8 weeks, whatever. Then you go test out to see if the surgery was effective. Well, it was effective. Great. But what happened over time, and we're not going to do the whole biology
No.
lesson, but there's a very common side effect of vasectomy reversals that happens, especially in younger men, where antibodies can form as a result of the surgery. And so
Can I correct you? It's
Okay.
not as a result of the surgery. It's a result of your body uses antibodies to break down the sperm, to kill the sperm, break them down. Because when you have a vasectomy, they're no longer, your body's
Getting
no longer,
released.
I was going to
process-
spare them of the biology lesson.
Well, but it's
I guess we're not sparing you.
I just want it to be correct because I want to be understood.
Okay.
So my body was releasing antibodies to do what I had trained it to do for all these years.
Totally.
That's
And
true.
now I'm going, hey,
Be free.
be free. Well, my body was like, no,
No, we don't do that.
we're killing these things.
Right.
We're not
Wow.
doing this. So I was no longer like as potent as I used to be.
True.
Mm.
So, I mean, so unpotent, in fact, that over a course of years now, so we're a couple years into post vasectomy reversal, the doctors are telling us you have about a 1 to 3% chance of getting pregnant.
Wow.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Which this is a very
Which
big.
is also, oh, sorry. I
No.
was going to say it would feel so defeating after going through the surgery for
completely.
you.
Completely.
I'm half the man I used to be. Yeah, I was just singing that song.
Yeah, it was a bummer.
Well, I'm saying even this already is such a roller coaster. You get the reversal, they're like, yeah, good to go. And then a couple years later, you find out that there's another body thing
Yeah.
that is affecting it.
Yeah, crazy. So you're like, I thought we knew what our path was. We thought we
Yeah.
did the hard thing. And I remember specifically, we're like 4 years in at this point to this journey. And I remember having this conversation with God where I was like, didn't we do the hard thing?
Yeah.
How is this also hard?
Yeah.
Right.
And then you have that really sobering but very human moment where you realize maybe for the first time, like, one hard thing doesn't exempt you from another hard thing in life.
Ugh,
Mm.
Yeah, you don't get any points for going through a hard thing.
No,
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
no,
You just get the
didn't just
relief
tick
of
it
having
off.
gone through one,
So
knowing
you know
that
you can
you
get
can
through
endure another.
And then, like
It's so
spoiler
true.
alert for parents with young kids, junior high can be a whole heck of a thing. So it's not like we were just like joy over here in this part of our life that was working. It was like, these are the hard parenting. These are hard parenting years. So
Yes.
With
Yeah.
blended
digging
family. And,
in. We are digging in to like help our kids through their early teenage years. And we've got a son now transitioning into high school, which was a whole nother journey.
Mm.
And then this part over here that we had dreamt about, we're like watching our dream kind of slip away because the kids are getting older. Oh my gosh,
Mm.
Elijah's
And
going
the
to
dream
graduate high
was-
school. The dream was to raise these kids together, to like do
Yes.
this as a family. It was going to bond us even more.
Right.
And so there's just a lot of things to grieve in the process. It's just, every twist and turn, there's something to lay down. There's something to surrender.
to help put it in perspective, though, because I think a lot of people, when you talk about having kids, everyone will be like, "Ooh, the best part is
I
the
was
trying."
just gonna. I was gonna bring this up.
Oof.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, like,
Go ahead.
what did it actually become for you guys?
Sucks, man, because like the first year of trying, you're like, "This is cool." It gives me as a guy, like when she doesn't feel like it, I'm like, "But we have to try, right? We got to try, and we should try everything."
Yeah.
Like that's what for us, like
Yeah.
we should really try tonight. So a lot of times it was like awesome at first, the first like year and a half, and then when you start to realize like this isn't happening.
Mm-hmm.
So every time she would be late for her period, we'd be like, "Well, maybe you're pregnant."
Oh.
And
The
then when she
emotional
has her
roller coaster.
period,
Mm-hmm.
not only is
grief.
she a horrible human being because she's dealing with all of the, no, she's not horrible.
Yeah.
No,
Oh my word.
is she like flooded with these emotions from her period, but then realizing every single month, you realize we're not pregnant
Yes.
Yeah,
for years.
over and
A
over.
bloody
yeah.
reminder.
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
not-
Yeah. Totally.
The emotional wear and tear, the emotional processing with God of like, okay, is it okay to not have sex if you don't feel like it? Or is that like not partnering with
Oh yeah.
the promises
The
of
mental
God?
game.
And like, it really is like
Yeah.
mental gymnastics. And eventually you
Yes.
get to the point where you're like, I don't even know that I want to
Yeah.
keep doing this. This
Yeah.
is so tough.
Totally.
Mhm. Yeah, it was tough.
Absolutely.
It was super hard.
Yeah.
And yeah. So
What-
that
how
that
are
was
you?
the-
How are you processing? Just real quick, I want
Yes.
to hear, because I mean, this is a thing. Jay's said yes to it, and he's
Yeah.
choosing into it. But I mean, this is something
Your
that
dream.
Yeah.
dream for
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
And each month, what's going
Yeah.
on for you?
Well, it's interesting because I have been blown away by the absolute love and connection I have felt with Jason's kids from the very beginning.
Mm.
Wow.
And I remember sitting in our home thinking to myself, the part of my heart that wants to be a mom is actually very fulfilled. Like
Wow.
I feel very fulfilled in being a parent. I am bonded to these kids. We are doing life. We are raising them through some hard circumstances. We feel connected. I have vision for what our family is going to look like in the future. The mom in me felt very fulfilled, but I felt extremely hungry for the part of my heart that wanted to carry and birth
Right.
babies.
Yeah.
The part of you that wants to see your own flesh and blood
Yeah.
come out of your body and happen on earth. There was such a desire for that still.
Yeah.
And I was having a lot of trouble reconciling, what do I do if if that desire is never fulfilled? Will my heart be okay
Yeah.
eventually if that desire is never fulfilled? And what I know on paper is that yes, because that is some women's journey. That is
Totally.
absolutely some women's journey. They have as much desire as I've ever had. And yet for one reason or another, that desire is never fulfilled
Right.
in their
Yeah.
life. And they have to find, so I was kind of setting myself to what do I need to do to start being okay with this?
Right.
Do I
To
need
have
to start being
acceptance.
okay with this, to accept it? Yeah. And it was right about that time that we actually discovered we were pregnant.
Really?
Yeah. So we got pregnant on Father's Day.
That's crazy.
Shut
5
up.
years in. Pregnant
Yeah,
on
4.5
Father's Day.
years. 4.5 years
yeah.
into trying, we found out we were pregnant. We had conceived on Father's Day, which we
Maybe,
just know.
maybe on the lake. Maybe while fishing on the
Maybe in
lake.
a boat. Maybe in a boat, which at the time happens to be Jason's favorite place.
The whole time I'm like, oh, we were doing it at the wrong place.
Oh my gosh. Anyway.
Of course we needed to be on the water.
That's
So
funny.
we found out we were pregnant, which, remind you, it was our 1 to 3% chance.
Right. Miracle.
Absolute miracle.
Incredible.
And it was just one of those moments where you're like, oh my gosh, like we're living in a miracle moment. We're living in a miracle. This is stunning. I can't believe this is happening, whatever. So I'm pregnant, feeling all the things, so excited. And then we go to our first ultrasound appointment at 10 weeks and they can't find a heartbeat. So
Baby's dead.
yeah, the baby
Ugh.
didn't make it. So I would say if we thought we were on a journey before, if we thought we were grieving before, if we thought we were processing hard things before, I didn't know that the real journey, the real trial started then. It was
Oh, that makes me want to cry for you.
Oh, it was horrible.
totally, it is not hard to access what that moment felt like.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah, she was laying there,
Vivid.
it's already a vulnerable moment, right?
Totally.
Ultrasound is a pretty vulnerable moment for a woman. And she's looking up at me like, help me. What do we do? And I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe that I'm in the middle again of this moment where how does this even happen?
Totally.
It doesn't make any sense. And not that it makes any sense now, but it's really doesn't make any sense then. And so we just went a couple of days and prayed, right? Prayed for the baby.
yeah,
And
a week.
a
They
week,
gave us a week.
which is so hard because honestly, it's like, I don't even know that I want to hope. I don't know that I want to go through this process of praying to go back in, have another ultrasound this is the stuff that we really go through. This is real life. And ultimately what happened is that baby, we lost that baby.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was, it's crazy.
It's more
because,
than that.
Yeah. It's just that crazy moment where we thought we did the hard thing.
Yeah.
Didn't we
it
already
felt
do the
like
hard
there
thing?
was a miracle.
Yeah.
Right.
It
It
felt
was
like a miracle.
It
was a miracle.
It was a miracle,
Child.
yep.
It was a miracle. And then to have that derailed was absolutely just so confusing. It
Yeah,
was,
confusing.
it was two things, right? It was two things simultaneously. It was absolutely the most to date, the most heart-wrenching, devastating thing that I have experienced.
Yeah.
That
Absolutely.
provoked so many questions and
Mhm.
so much confusion.
Wow.
But this other crazy thing happened where I was hell bent on having a baby. I was like,
no.
Oh,
I
hell
am
no.
not laying this dream down. Actually,
Wow.
I am not accepting the end of this story. This is no way. And actually, I felt more hope than I
Wow.
ever had.
Wow.
So it was
Crazy.
this really weird thing where I was like, oh, nope, this is not the end. This is not the end.
This is not
we
how
are
it ends.
doing this.
Because that's the point where most people give up. They get
Mhm.
so broken by a situation
Yeah.
like that. And then they start adding up
Which
everything
if they
that got
do,
them. They're like,
that's-
hey, there's only a 1 to 3% chance. We had our time. It broke me what I just went through. And it's reasonable that they break because it's so painful
Yeah.
and it feels so impossible that they
Totally.
just shatter altogether.
Totally.
Life is all about how much pain can you endure and make really good decisions and keep going forward.
Yeah.
I mean, the sum total of your life is what are you willing to do in the midst of hard things? Whatever your decisions were there, that's the math for your life. Like, oh, you really love your life. It's because you made a whole bunch of really hard decisions.
Absolutely.
And you're willing to continue to do that.
That's right.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So that was wild. That was
It was such it's so interesting processing this whole journey because I have so many memories from every moment.
Yeah.
Even when we were just talking about like when you went through the divorce and then meeting her and the process of that. And I was thinking about when you came back and told us about your first kiss but one of the things I love that you guys have done really well is in the middle of hard things, let people in on it. Like even when you're talking about like allowing the village to help you through your divorce. Well, what that meant is we all got to bond to you through it. And I think so many people are scared that their most painful, broken moments are the times when people don't want to be involved.
Yeah.
But you actually really do bond to people through those moments of watching the journey and the process. So I think you have done a really good job of that. I just wanted to comment because of allowing people into your story. Like I remember you processing the journey of trying to have kids and the anxiety of it. And like when you let people into your world, they get to bond to you.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Okay. So that's crazy.
Yeah.
Then-
that was crazy.
Eventually what happens is I'm realizing I'm getting old. I'm getting old and I don't want to keep messing around. Like we either need to have kids or we need to stop.
Yeah.
Because I'm 38 years old at this point, and it's fun when I'm 32. I have this dream since I was 19 years old. My kids are going to be out of the house at 42.
I had dreams.
Right,
I had
that's
dreams
the
too.
best
I'm
part
going to be 42 years old,
Yeah.
and my kids are going to be out of the house, and then I can do whatever I want. Like
Yes.
I put my time in,
Uh-huh.
and so I'm now starting to pivot towards like we either have kids or I'm capping this baby off again, which I will do.
Snip, snap, snip, snap.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh. How many times can you do it?
Yeah.
and we can just get on with life and be okay with that. And so I told Lauren like we have to move forward. Like we gotta.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, and what that meant for us. So, right. Like we knew ahead of time that we only had a very slim chance of getting pregnant naturally, which meant that if we really wanted to pursue having kids, we'd likely have to pursue medical help
Wow.
without a miracle. So we experienced the miracle, then we lost the miracle. So we're back in this position of going like, well, but we still only have a 1 to 3% chance. So I guess we pursued medical help. There's a lot, again, we'll spare you the biology of it, but there's a lot of options when it comes to medical help for fertility.
And we had tried some of them.
We had tried some of them, but the last ditch resort that we didn't ever want to have to think about, much less try or pursue, was in vitro. So
Right.
IVF was on the table. It's what our physicians were telling us was the most likely shot at helping us, like that we knew that would probably be our route. We really didn't want to have to do it. It's very involved. There's a lot of medication involved. There's a lot of money involved. There's a lot of time involved. And to be honest, there was a lot of mystery around it for us. And we had to go on a journey. Really, we had to go on a prayerful journey of considering IVF as an option. And to save you a really long story, that's long, but we'll make it a little shorter, is we ended up getting to the point where we felt an incredible amount of peace and actually life on the option of moving forward, pursuing IVF. So we did that.
All right. So I'm going to be that guy who stops us right there, leaving everybody on a cliffhanger that Jay and Lauren went ahead and went forward with IVF. And the story that we're about to get into in part 2 next week is going to be filled with a crazy roller coaster of a ride, with a shocking event that no one would have foreseen coming. And I, especially even after knowing about it, was still shocked when I heard them share this part of the episode. And as we're going into that, just remember that right now, we have a couple of weeks left to sign up for Living Fully Alive 2023. It starts January 11th. It is a course that thousands of people have taken, and it is constantly transforming people's lives. And it's leaving people coming back saying, I'm doing it again. And I'm bringing my parents, I'm bringing my kids along with me on this journey. I'm bringing my friends, because it's changing the way that people are completely doing life, the way that they're understanding themselves, and the way that they're understanding other people. So if you haven't already, head to Justin and Abi, that's abi.com, and check out Living Fully Alive under our courses. And I think that it's something that across the board, no one is going to be disappointed in partaking in. So head there now. And if you haven't already, rate, review, subscribe, and share this episode. Tune in next week for something that is going to blow your mind and leave you with so much hope and so much joy about the possibilities of what can happen when we stay determined and we don't give up and we choose to face all the difficulties that are set before us in this life. All right. Peace out.